good fortune to be sitting in Harlem, New York, with presidential candidate 2019, Omoyele Sowore. How are you, sir?
I'm good. It's good to be here. You're
very busy. You're traveling all over Nigeria and all over the States.
Yes, so and all over the world, as a matter of fact. This trip is, this journey has taken me to somewhere as far as Australia.
To meet some Nigerians?
Yes.
Because we're everywhere.
I did like 4 cities in Australia.
What was that reception like?
It was good. It's I didn't know that there are many Nigerians in Australia, actually. We did Perth, Sydney, and 2 other cities. And it was amazing how many people are out there.
Ready for you.
They're very ready.
Tell me, you are from State originally?
Yeah.
47 years old.
That's right.
Father of 2.
Yes.
2 degrees.
Yes.
1 Legacy University.
And one right here, Columbia University, yes.
And you want to be president of Nigeria?
That's
Federal
right.
Republic?
Yes, Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Because why?
Because it's time for someone who's got head on their shoulders to rule Nigeria. And someone who understands the place, someone who's capable, someone who's got capacity, someone who's got intellect. Exposure is very important too. And
so you came, but so let me go back.
Yes.
Born in Ondo State, 47 years ago.
Yes.
Tell me about your family, sir.
I grew up with my father is a teacher. My father was a teacher. He's late now. Okay. And I grew up in a polygamous home, 3 wives,
okay,
1 man, and I was the first child of what was initially 20 kids.
20?
Now, yes, and now there are 16 of us left, okay. 8 boys and 6 girls. So.
And you were the eldest?
I'm the oldest.
So you know about sharing a delegation and.
It's not that anymore. It's just being left with all these kids, and sometimes most of them will fall sick on you, and your parents can't be found, and you have to take care of all these kids all by yourself. And I remember one day, with about 6 of my siblings, I was just crying them years because 2 of them were sick, the rest were hungry, and I didn't know where to find them food, and our parents had gone to farm. That's tough. So that's kind of experience I had growing up. But I grew up also in the Niger Delta region of Nigeria, where most of the oil wealth comes from. And also I've seen the devastation done to the environment and how the part of Nigeria that's supposedly lay in the golden egg is the poorest.
So is that where some of your activism came from? Seeing that dysfunction and that...
The dysfunction and the oppression was part of what...
and the oil companies just taking advantage of
everybody.
And the government not doing anything to stop
in all honesty, I don't think Nigeria has a government.
Oh.
We just have multinational corporations who have their, prefects running the country on their behalf.
Is that a neo-colonial legacy?
It is. It's neo-colonial. It's also commercial. It's also the nature of multinational business dealings. That what is most important is not the people but the products.
Right.
Yes.
So I have to ask you because I hear this when I follow you. People say, "But you're such a young guy."
Yeah.
And who are you, such a young guy, to think you can take on the generals, the godfathers of Nigeria, the career politicians, the blah blah da da da, the stalwarts, the uncles of the nation? I'm saying the big somebodies. You're a young man.
I don't think I'm young. I think I'm youthful.
Okay, well, yeah.
Most 47. But what I'm trying to arrive at is that the same guys who are running Nigeria now started early in life. Buhari was president of Nigeria first time in 1983 at the age of 42. Atiku was run for presidency in 1992 at the age of 42. Obasanjo was first president of Nigeria when he was in his 30s. Gowon, who was the first military leader of Nigeria, was 29 years old when he was head of state. So what they've done is to deprive all these young people, of the opportunity to even have a chance at leadership. So by the time we woke up, we were finding out that we're already old. But because they haven't given us any chance to grow, they use the same thing against us. You ask the question, if if Buhari, who was president of Nigeria in 1983, is still the president in 2008, so where will I get the experience from?
Right.
They
Nobody's
never
passing.
left, you know.
Right, they're not passing with that
They're
on.
not-
But it's an interesting point that you make,
Yeah.
that they were from 30 to 42 to, and they're presidents already.
Yes.
That's an interesting point that
Yeah.
nobody's made.
That's the point they don't make, because they don't want people to know. They want to make it look as if, you know, we are running a gerontocracy. It's the government.
They don't want to let go of the power.
They don't, because for them, power is social security. They don't
But they have it now. They already have. They have their money.
They never have enough. You know, like they're not accountable to anyone. That's how they make their money. That's how they help their cronies and their families. So that's why I say for them, power, social security is how they secure their retirement. Is how they make more money and more money. Build mansions, buy private jets.
But meanwhile, the infrastructure in Nigeria
It's falling apart.
is crumbling.
Yeah,
The roads are not good. The hospitals are not good. The schools are not as good as they used to be. The job security is not there for the people, or even their period.
Yeah,
So what? So were you lived in Nigeria most of your life, have you?
that's right. I lived in Nigeria up to when I was 27. I came to the U.S. at the age of 28 in 1999, and I've been here since.
So you have experienced both countries,
Yes,
the West and back on the continent.
that's right.
So you see things from both.
There's a global West and a global South.
Right.
Yes.
So your experience in knowing what it really is. People, I think the West is the golden goose often.
Yeah.
I do not know about some of the pitfalls. I think that the achievement is to get out of Nigeria to come here.
Yeah.
Anywhere in the West. You have experienced both, so you know the pitfalls of both.
Yeah.
So you want to go home having got this experience here, living here,
Yes.
schooling in both places. You want to go home and make a difference because you think it's your duty, or it's in your heart, or because you just want to make a change.
It's always been in my heart. You know, even while I lived here, I was just partially here. My gene did not leave Nigeria to the point that I wake up when Nigerians wake up here. You know, every endeavor that I've been engaged in since I arrived here has been how to have an impact back home. When I started Sahara Reporters, it was about how to figure out a way to get Nigerians enlightened about what is going on so that they can make socio-political decisions with the kind of reporting I was doing, which is very critical, hard-hitting, investigative reports and content that were produced over the last 12 years that I ran that platform.
But you formulated Sahara Reporters when you was in
Yes.
Manhattan, right? Or at least in New York.
Well, it was between Manhattan and where I lived in New Jersey.
Right.
Yes, yes.
And it was always critical of the government. I remember seeing you at many of the Nigerian Day parades,
Yeah.
front and center, in front of the stage, and when the Tim was going on, I'll speak. Here
I
you
would
come
organize a protest.
with your banners,
Yeah.
Sahara Reporters, and yelling at the elders, and they were
yes.
trying to, and you would
Dignitaries.
and you would struggle. They would actually try and take you down physically.
Yeah.
And I think
It got to the point that the NYPD that came there every year knew me.
they knew you. They
And
knew
if
your
they
name.
saw me, they would say, "Hey, you know, what do you know? What do you want this time around again?"
I remember them asking you, "What do you want? What do you want us to do?" And you,
Yeah, and it was that I couldn't just stand the fact that these dignitaries stand in front of people every year to celebrate independence that they don't have, or we don't have. And secondly,
explain, sir.
Yeah.
What do you mean that we don't have?
well, you know, I mean, what is the independence when you cannot control your resources? You know, your people are poor. You know, the people who claim they gave you independence have not left your currency, they haven't left your country, they're still in control of resources, they still control the government, you know, they dictate who becomes who and where and when. So that was part of it, but I also was really appalled to see that Nigerian dignitaries would leave Nigeria with the retinue of it and come and celebrate Nigeria's independence in New York. And for me,
It's hypocrisy
it was hypocrisy, and I knew it was also
and a
corruption.
fallacy.
Yes. So I needed to just shame them, and we did it up to a point. We only stopped when they stopped coming. So you know, it was at the point where we succeeded in stopping dignitaries from coming from Nigeria that we then kind of de-escalated.
But the first lady was here.
Yeah.
This just a couple of months ago.
Well, not to the independent parade.
Right, she came that week.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because they stopped coming, then you know, maybe they might come this time around, having known that I won't be in town because I was campaigning for election. But in the past, they were asked around, if you.
So USEF has already made an impact to make them think about weighing up rather than coming or getting confronted by yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't the only thing I did. I did a lot of protests. There was one I did in 2012 where we held up a town hall meeting after the occupied Nigeria, and that went viral. And it was the same thing. We had this minister came from Nigeria, and she came late to the event because she was changing her room from apparently a smaller room to a bigger room upstairs, the same hotel, and we got
people were waiting.
When she showed up, we took it over, and a lot of people really like that. So
I see people have called you the new fella like in terms of the way you've engaged the young people in Nigeria, and you've got their minds, and you've managed to embolden them to not only protest but to challenge the authorities. And I saw the video where you would, I can't remember, I don't know, were you in Kano, where you drove by and the army was attacking some young man?
Yeah, and I stopped on the road and rescued them from the army, and they couldn't believe it because, the reason I did it was because I know how helpless I've been in the past, been a victim of torture. I've been beaten up by the army, the police.
When you were a young activist? When
I was a student activist, But talking about Fela, it wasn't a coincidence that I also auditioned for Fela on Broadway.
You did not?
I did. So I'm such a Fela disciple,
Fela is everything, especially for activists, because he embodies.
It was one single activist that took on the system all by himself, using music. I didn't have a good voice, so I couldn't sing, but I'm using media, I'm using my body, I'm using my skills, and I'm using the internet to fight the government, and that's what I've done, and that's what drove me. Everybody thought I was crazy, stopping in front of the army because they could have shot me, and the part most people didn't see was they actually pointed a gun at me at the point.
Are you not afraid?
I wasn't.
For your safety?
For me, I think I've gotten past that point where I'm afraid of anything.
Because Nigeria is not easy. It's not like it's just going to.
I know what I signed up for. But some people have to make the sacrifice to clean up the place, and I happen to be privileged to gain the acceptance and support of people.
You say privileged, but you actually worked hard for how many years now? Since '89, really, when you was a student, you've been doing this confrontation of what you think is the injustice of the government, the economy.
That's right.
The people having not enough food, the poverty level,
and the pollution of the environment.
But the pollution and also the corruption.
Yes.
Speak on what your platforms are, sir, please.
I've engaged and fought against the system using different platforms. I started as a student activist in 1989, and our problems in those days were both economic and political. And we had the Structural Adjustment Program imposed upon Nigeria by the World Bank and IMF.
Right.
Some 30 years later, these guys are apologizing. They had wrong economic prescription for Nigeria. They said it openly, But those of us who were fighting against it when we were young, I was still a teenager when I did my first protest against the World Bank. We didn't get a Nobel Prize for it. There was a professor of mine at Columbia, Joseph Stiglitz, who found out belatedly in 2012 or thereabout, and 2002 or thereabout, wrote a book about the misapplication of economic policies by wrong-headed World Bank policies. I got a Nobel Prize for it.
Is that a fact?
We were beaten, we were jailed, we were expelled from the university. Secondly was military rule.
Right.
Nigeria had a problem of military rule and gangsters in power. And so I had to go to school with an ammo time pointed at my class throughout my stay in the university. I was expelled twice. I was detained 8 different times. In Lagos, all around Nigeria, and I was tortured by the police, army. I suffered a lot before I came to the U.S. But eventually, in 1999, that paid off. We had democracy, and then after democracy, we had the same problem associated with young democracy on the continent of Africa. The president who won the election in 1999 after 2 terms didn't want to leave. So that's what we call Mugabeism. He wanted to become a Robert Mugabe, and we had to confront him using Sahara reporters. Now drove him out of power, and then followed by that was the president who was sick and refused to disclose his illness. And we had a minority as his vice president. The majority tribes don't want him to be president. Had to use Sahara reporters to expose all of the gimmicks and all of the shenanigans behind his illness, and had to reveal at that time that he was brain dead when nobody knew he was. And eventually that paid off, and we had, for the first time in Nigeria, a minority person become president of Nigeria, and he won another election after that. So my next engagements with Nigeria was to ensure that we have free and fair elections. These are ways through which democracy gets consolidated.
Right.
And 2015, Sahara reporters played a pivotal role in ensuring that the Nigerian elections were free and fair. At the time, the whole world was already predicting that Nigeria would, erupt in turmoil and they would break apart.
But to me, that was an international plan, though.
Whether it is international or local,
as well as
we did what we had to do to ensure that the election was free and fair. The question I ask myself all the time is, if an election is free and it doesn't elect good leaders, is it fair? Yeah.
Who's on the ballot?
Exactly. That's the reason why I started thinking creatively about getting involved.
That was when 2015, after that?
After 2015, and I saw that
the
change that happened in 2015 was a ruse, it was a farce. It was just a scam.
So to 2019, look at how many people and parties are running. I mean, how are you able to, how do you plan to grab the headlines? That's what you've already done, shutting down airports and whatnot. But how do you plan to get the headlines to focus on what you're saying as opposed to who you are and the political theatre to take you seriously as a candidate? As you've pointed out, some of the candidates have been even younger than yourself.
Yeah.
So your youth should not even be an issue.
Yeah, it shouldn't. I think it should be character. That's most important. But, in Nigeria, it's important that there's also youth, because we spend a lot of money maintaining all these old guards and cargoes in hospitals abroad. Each time they become presidents, they just travel abroad and spend.
Even that's disgusting.
It's
embarrassing.
And they will never disclose what's wrong with them. We don't know when they're going to die. We don't know what.
Or if they're dead already.
They're dead already, and they're imposters, as some people claim. Yeah. So we don't know what is what and who is who.
But the infrastructure of Sowore, as you said, it's like the infrastructure is such that
It's come fantastic, but I needed to be creative, and that was why the idea of engaging directly and interacting with people became necessary.
Right.
And that's what brought about town hall meetings, and it surprised everybody that I could have over 100 town hall meetings in 8 months. And that I traveled 36 states, and 30 out of 36 states within such a short time, including places that had been deemed inaccessible and unsafe, places like Zamfara State. I drove past places on the way to Plateau where even the blood of victims of, violence by headsmen had not even dried. We drove past.
And you had no.
And we didn't have security. We didn't have police security, because even when we got to a point where people say apply, we applied, they never gave us. So we went out regardless. We just had young people who were determined and followed us everywhere. And
they knew who you were.
They knew who I was, and in fact, in the places where you would think that they would be hostile, they were very receptive. They were like,
because are they ready for the change?
They're ready for the change, and they said, "Oh, you're this Sahara reporters guy. Or you've always been fair and balanced, and you're not this ethnic jingoist."
Which is important. For
because they used to being divided. It's amazing how many Nigerians are very, very conscious of what is happening in the country, but we have not opened up to them. That's why town hall meetings were important, because we wanted them to ask questions, and they would stand up and ask questions in this meeting in places like Benin Kebbi, Makurdi, in places like Sokoto, We went to Gusau in Zamfara State where there was serious killings going on. We had town hall meetings in Kaduna, we had in Kano, we met the emir of Kano.
And did you know the peculiar issues that affect every single
everywhere?
area?
Yeah.
You knew the issues.
One of the things I found out was that most Nigerian leaders not even know Nigerians.
What do you mean?
Because they're not prepared to meet them and discuss their issues with them. A lot of them are talking about their subjects. They see them as subjects. They don't see them as citizens. So that's what I went to do. And when I came out of that, it was like a need assessment tour of Nigeria. I was very clear about how to take Nigeria from where it is to where it should be. And that was how we started drawing programs in and started looking for political parties to join. Couldn't find anyone that could accommodate, big and lofty ideas. And we applied and formed our own political party known as the African Action Congress.
Take it back.
About 3 months ago. It's 3 months old now. So within 9 months, we were able to penetrate the consciousness of Nigerians, both young and old, but particularly young people. And we had a slogan that they loved, "Take it back," and everybody was using it as an empowerment tool.
Meaning?
Well, whatever it is you lost with all this old system, you take it back. Whatever, was stolen from you, you take it back. Whatever you can retrieve, you take it back. It's a battle cry for, retrieving the integrity of the Nigerian person.
So, Nigeria has a particular stereotypical reputation.
Yeah.
How do you challenge that and change it? If indeed that's your mission.
You see, we have to decide whether we need a PR president or a president who is ready to fix the country. I'm not even worried about reputation. I'm worried about people. I'm worried about food security. I'm worried about people going to school, having hospitals to treat themselves or their kids. I'm worried about pulling Nigeria out of, out of poverty such that it's no longer the world poverty capital. I'm worried about, making it possible for kids to survive beyond the age of 5. We just became the world capital of where to die before the age of 5 about last week. I'm worried about, the corruption that is happening in the place such that thieves just don't hijack the country and take what is meant for, schools, meant for children, meant for immunization, meant for hospitals, infrastructure, electricity, so that thieves don't just cut them away.
What if the thieves are in the government?
They are the ones in government now, and it's the reason why we're challenging them, that we have to drive them out of our country.
So let me ask you.
Into oblivion, and put them where thieves ought to be.
And your plan to challenge all these different issues, your actual manifesto, your plan of action, you have?
We have it ready. We have what we call Spicer Heat, which is like 10 different programs that will pull Nigeria out of poverty and put it on the path of progress, peace, and prosperity. And one of it is security. The second one is power, electricity, infrastructure, anti-corruption, economy, restructuring, which everybody is talking about a lot, health, education, agriculture, for food security and tourism, so that Nigeria can regain its place as not just a cultural space, but a touristic space. Because a lot of people would love to go to Nigeria and just find out Nigeria is the origin of a lot of things in a lot of places. As I often say, if you look at the map of Africa, it looks like a pistol. If you look properly better, Nigeria is a trigger. And until you get it right, Africa is never going to be able to fire.
I went to the carnival in Abuja in 2006, and all the states came with their different cultural expressions.
Yes.
And it was beautiful.
Beautiful.
But they only did it once. The second one wasn't as big. But I'm thinking all that culture that's right there, not to mention the legacies, not to mention, as you say, I always say that Nigeria is like Brooklyn.
Yeah.
because of the energy and the ferocity and the fierceness, or Jamaica, or whatever that thing is that makes people fire, as you say. It's right there.
That's right.
But it's been subjugated by the poverty, by the if you can't get decent healthcare,
if you can get
or
healthcare,
job,
you can get
or
jobs,
education.
you can get education.
How can you now?
Basically, you can get electricity.
The lights, sure. How are you going to keep the lights on, please?
Yes, that's
asking you
priority
because
for us. It's priority, and that's why what's part of what we're planning is innovative intervention in the electricity sector. Renewable energy is a key part of what we want to do, like to have like over 4,500 megawatts of electricity coming from solar energy alone.
Okay.
Immediately, because Morocco is doing it, Tunisia is doing it, Egypt is doing it, and we all live under the same sunlight. But without innovative leadership, you can't have a functioning digital society. So you just have a bunch of analog brain leaders in Nigeria, and you expect to see something different. You're wasting your time. This is the best they can give.
So speaking of analog and digital, most okay, let me say not most. A lot of Nigerians haven't got connection to social media per se, especially talking about in the urban areas. How are you reaching them? How are they hearing your message?
It's interesting. What we found is that reverse is the case.
The reverse?
Mm-hmm.
Word of mouth, the drum?
Word of mouth is there, but there's also a lot of people who are connected to the internet. There are over 100 million mobile phone users in Nigeria, over 40 million smartphone users. Somehow they're connected, and Nigerians are interestingly very, very digitally wired. They like technology of the digital type. I was surprised to find out that my grandmother had somehow had a way of getting on Facebook. Even though she uses the proxy, but if I have something live going on, she would ask them to bring it over, and she's 95 years old. Beautiful. So somehow they're getting digital information, content across. And WhatsApp is the new billboard. So someone who doesn't have a phone will read to someone else. So we're lucky in that regard, but there's a way that the new brand of leadership can not only codify that, but make it also to the economic advantage of the people.
So you don't want to talk about your opponents, I know, but let me ask you. So are your opponents not aware of the importance of using social media?
Some of them are, but
in the way that you are using it, though. So it's being done even by osmosis, even though you're not there. It's already been. It's got a life on its own.
Yeah, I think one thing that I did very well in Nigeria was that I used social media to bring about a new brand of journalism in the country.
That's true.
So Sowore Brothers came, from nowhere and became one of the most prominent news media outlets in Nigeria because we were using social media to distribute, and we had no hard copies anywhere, and it was difficult then to ambush us. And because of that, over the last 12 years, our Sowore Brothers had been around and figured out what works and don't work on the social media space.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. So that's helpful.
And so let me ask you: is it a weapon in your arsenal, if you like? That's how reporters are able to push your message, or you keep? I think you keep reporting the news regardless.
Yeah,
whether you're in the news or not.
Sowore Brothers is neutral.
Okay.
In this regard, I tried as much as possible not to let Sowore Brothers be the first place to get news about me. I report myself on social media first.
Okay.
And then others speak it from there, including I'm not telling Sowore Brothers what to do. It's in the hands of kind of independent management right now.
So, to people in the outside of Nigeria, to people outside of Nigeria, what would you say is the best way they can help you spread your hear your message and then spread your message?
Well, they can support us. We've been on GoFundMe, raising funds, and it's worked so well for the campaign. we raised over $4,000 in 8 months. It's the first time anybody in Nigeria would raise money through such.
Okay.
Huh?
Just call me.
Okay. Through
GoFundMe.
GoFundMe. We also have an account in Nigeria through which people locally can contribute. So between those two accounts, and we have raised quite some funding. But when we started our GoFundMe, we were looking to get over $2 million between when we started and now. It hasn't come as well as we expected, but it has also come in unexpected ways, in the sense that we have people who have vehicles at home in Nigeria who are in diaspora who give us their vehicle with brand, and we have people who donate their buildings to us, and you can't quantify that.
Right.
Yeah. And we've had people who volunteer themselves, they're home now, taking vacation time to help with the campaign. It's been amazing.
So let me ask you about the financial part of it, because you traveled a lot.
Yeah.
So it's all volunteer contributions, and
Yeah.
when you get into.
I put in some of my own money too.
Right.
But it's been mostly contribution from volunteers and support. So when I travel, someone will take care of the hotel, someone will do the air ticket.
So so you have a strong ground operation that always goes ahead of the advanced team, if you like.
We have an advanced team. We have local organizing committees everywhere. We have,
Castle in
the
London,
biggest network of volunteers.
which is very, very Obama-esque in a lot of ways.
Yeah, there's a lot of similarities in what we're doing and what Obama did. The only difference is that Obama wouldn't have survived on the roads that I travel.
That's an interesting fact.
Yeah, probably he'll be hospitalized if he did one of my trips
I was
for
gonna
like
say
2 weeks.
So you run marathons, or you run?
Yeah, I'm a long distance runner. I've done 8 marathons, including New York Marathon the year before this one.
8?
Yes. Did New York in less than 4 hours. So, which is no small feat.
So you have stamina
There's a lot of it, yeah.
and focus.
Focus, and there's one thing that marathon running teaches you is that when your body stops running, your mind must keep going.
You don't hit the wall.
Not at all. And as I say, marathon, the half of a marathon is the 20th mile. Because the last 6 miles is the hardest.
Yes, yeah.
So my life has been within the last 6 miles of the marathon since I started in 1989. I've always had to do with the hardest part. So I run, and I just have to keep going until I reach the finish line.
And your siblings?
They're helping. They're there. Don't try this at home.